Good. Okay. The Village of El Portal Budget Workshop for 2023-2024 fiscal year is called to order on Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023 at 7:02 p.m. Stand for a moment of silent meditation, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Now please have roll call.
Roll call. Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pirella.
Here.
Councilperson Urban.
Present.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Here.
Councilperson Martin. Here. Also present for the record, Janisha Kobe, Village Clerk, Christy Alou, Village Manager, and the CFO.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I appreciate that. Next is the approval of the agenda. We only have one thing on the agenda. Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving along. Good and welfare. This is the time right now if anybody has something to say about the budget itself. That's the agenda item. Now's your time to come and do so. You will be able to speak while we go through the budget also. Just keep that in mind. But if you have something to say about the budget right now, you can come up and say so if you want to say your piece and go sit down. Hearing, seeing none, moving right along. Agenda items, we are at the proposed budget. Let's open up our budget packets, either digitally or if you guys have them in hard copies. So we went through this once before. This is the second time we're doing this together, you all. And so the same way we did it last time, which is, this is the workshop, this is the proposed budget. This is not the budget hearing. The budget hearing, the first budget hearing will be next week. Being this is the proposed budget, if there's any areas, any line items that we are in disagreement about, we'll go through a voting process, and the majority vote will win for that line item as far as what it will say or stay the same or change or adjust. That way, we'll get through it quickly. Okay?
Okay.
Sound good? I know we have our CFO here, we have the manager here also. Let's turn to, we'll go page by page, you guys. There's gonna be some things I point out also. If you have any questions, just ask on that particular page. There'll be things I point out also as we go through it. Let's go to page 2. Page 2 is the budget summary. Want to keep in mind right here, the one thing that kind of sticks out is the ad valorem taxes. You guys know our millage rate. You see there on the general fund is 8.3. There's something to that. I was on a meeting earlier today. We were on a meeting with Mayor Levine Cava. There's a Zoom meeting. She was kind of going over the county budget. I know Vice Mayor Pirella was on there. I know Councilperson Martin was on there. Councilperson Martin asked a great question during the meeting. I felt proud. I was like, that's El Portal right there. Don't say nothing. I almost said it. I almost unmuted myself, Madam Manager, and said it. I almost said, that's El Portal right there. Don't you? Appreciate Councilperson Martin. Manager Alou was on there also. She was saying at one point, and there's something else to this also, and I'm not saying, and at this point we can't do this, and I'm not saying that we should do this even in the future, but I just kind of want to put things, in perspective. They were going through the county budget, and I don't know if you guys remember, she got to the part about the millage rate, and it was showing the different county departments when it came to the millage rate, but it said the county budget overall, they went from 9.6 something to 9.5 something, the county budget. So remember you guys, last time we had our meeting, and we were talking about the millage rate, and I was saying that Biscayne Park was 9.0, and they were one of the highest, or 8.9 or 9.0. Well, I had a meeting with the Biscayne Park mayor a couple of weeks ago, and I stand corrected. Biscayne Park is 9.5.
Are they bigger than us?
No, Biscayne Park is same size.
They didn't grow?
and they're 9.5. So I just want to say, I'm just kind of saying that just kind of like as an opening to say that I just really want to say thank you to you all as a council. I want to say thank you to the manager, to the clerk, thank you to CFO, Tabo Phil, because we do a lot more with a lot less, with like no wiggle room. You know, like we're 8.3. And for Biscayne Park to be 9.5, and for the county to be an overall 9.6 that drops to a 9.5 something is huge, you guys, that we're able to, you know, with the little that we have, we're able to really continue to grow things, which you'll see as we go through the budget.
Mayor,
Yes,
doesn't Biscayne
Councilman.
Park have a commercial district larger than ours?
They have no commercial district. As a matter of fact, they're landlocked with no commercial district.
What is that on Northeast Second Avenue? I'm driving up there all the time. They had Pizza Hut and they had.
Yeah, it's North Miami. Once you hit North Miami, that's what that is. Yeah, right after Biscayne Park, you hit North Miami. Yeah.
They stop at 120. All right, I'll take a better look, but it seems to me they have more commercial than we do.
No, when you see the commercial start, you've hit North Miami.
So the cemetery is not in Biscayne Park, huh?
No, Biscayne Park. So if you're going up, Northeast Second or 6th? If you're going up 6th, yeah. If you're going up 6th, there's the church, right there where you see like the street kind of splits. And as you go north, you go. Those are the signs that say like, don't even think about speeding or something like that. And that's all residential, as you see there. And then you'll get to the commercial, and you've hit North Miami.
So Pizza Hut, what isn't in Biscayne Bay? Biscayne Park?
No, you're talking about, what Pizza Hut are you talking about? Which one are we talking about?
There's a pizza place.
Are we,
That's in front of the school. That's in front of the school.
yeah, that's Miami Shores. You're talking about Miami Shores, where Dr. Charter is, right? No, it's Country Day. That's what it is. Country Day. That's Miami Shores. Yeah.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Yeah, it's Miami Shores. So Biscayne Park starts. So when you pass Country Day, the street kind of curves a little bit, and then that's where Biscayne Park is off to the right side. Yeah, right there. Yeah. All right. So any questions on? But I just want to say thank you to everyone here, because we wouldn't be able to. I always tell people when I go to meetings, you guys, with other mayors, I always say we do a lot more with a lot less. I always tell them, if we had the money coming in that you all had, we would bypass everybody here. Like if we had what they had, we would shoot past them with everything, because we do so much more with a lot less. You guys have any other questions for page 2? No?
8.3 will be the millage rate, correct?
8.3 will be the millage rate, yeah.
All right. We have had, and will we be discussing about the salary levels in this budget workshop?
Those things are in here,
Very
yes,
good.
absolutely.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
That's it, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Ellsworth Ward. We go to the next page. That's the notice of the proposed tax increase. This right here, you guys, is also about property values. Kind of shows the breakdown. Everybody good on that? Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yes.
So our millage rate has stayed the same from last year to this year, and the property tax is increasing. Why? Can someone just explain that to me?
I can explain it, or Harry can explain it. The question, I mean, you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
The simple answer to that is just the increase in property value.
Okay. So the amount that we're taking in, you're anticipating to take in more, but it's not that we're like levying more of a tax.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, I agree. Like, I understood it to be increase in tax revenue. However,
It can't be.
residents reading this are going to be like, "What are you talking about, tax increase?" So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, completely.
No, we're 8.3, and we didn't raise the taxes. Yeah, we've been 8.3, you guys.
No, for sure. It's just I know a couple people that read that and it took it as Councilmember Erbaum and I. Yeah. So just wanted to make that clear.
Sure, if I could just add, I guess the
Sure.
best way to explain it would be is that we don't control it, right? We control the millage rate, and then everything else is is based on the state property values, right? And that's determined by the state. So, yes, there is an increase, but it's strictly based on the property value. We have no control. The only thing that we can control is the actual millage rate.
For sure. The wording was just
I got it.
a little ambiguous, but I completely get the concept. We're saying the same on our millage rate and taking in more revenue because property values have increased significantly. So I get it. Thank you so much.
No, ma'am,
Make that clear, we did not do that.
we did not.
That's the question that I was getting with comments is, why am I paying more taxes? What's the value of your home, dear?
All right, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we have to understand that the county is the one that actually raising the assessed value. So that's the way for them to get a little more extra money. And so we all get affected by it. Mine is gonna go up this year about $300, as if they adopt the proposed budget. I got a letter saying that. So the difference in taxes this year is gonna be like about that. And this probably reflects more of the last year's property, the sale of properties. They're now in the 800s and million and $2 million. And that's probably where those, the revenue comes in, right? Like,
Yes. The other thing I want to add also is that there's a dollar amount represented on this sheet here assumes 100% of collections of the ad valorem taxes. By law, we're only allowed to report 95%. So when you look at the funding on the next page, you'll see that it's actually 95% of the actual amount on the previous page. So there is also the ability of collecting more than what's actually budgeted. So there is a potential surplus there for that.
The benefit of people that don't know, there's gotta be a way that we explain to the folks that have been here like me, 30-some years, why I bought my property for 68 grand. I don't accept the 225 grand. I don't accept that. It's paid off, but I don't accept that. Who told them that I had that, if I was selling it, I have to sell it? That, it sounds like there's something going wrong in that equation. I bought it for 68 grand. 2.1 million? Is that one of those carrots you're just shaking out there? Because we already know, those of us that have lived at least 50 years, we already know that a snake rattles and a bear bites. We already know that. So why in the world are you gonna make it seem like, and I get more advertising, I don't know what you're getting on your street. We get more advertisement, I love to sell your house. Come on now, that's my idea. Don't plant that, but I'm just talking rhetorically because it's not making any sense. A $68,000 house, 30 years later, is 2.1 million, and they come around. Literally, the realtor comes around with this carrot. I can sell your property. But who knows? I know what happens when the tax season comes in next year. Therein is the what? Are you serious? Yeah, that's what you gotta pay. That's my commentary, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot. We'll appreciate that. Anybody else, you guys, before we go to the next page? Good? Okay. Page 3, this page right here, you guys, is the revenue. So this is the fun page. This is the good page. This should be the page that that makes us all smile. Do you have any questions about the revenue page, you guys? This is
Yes.
money coming in, not going out.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilperson Lightfoot.
First of all, congratulations to us all. That's the first thing. Secondly, is it enough?
Enough for us to continue our services?
Is it enough for the village? Uh-huh.
I would say, me personally, I would like more cushion. you know, but I would never raise the millage rate, right? Now, do I think it should be higher? Maybe it should be 8.5, right? Considering that Biscayne Park is 9.5, maybe it should be 8.5. Maybe that'll give us a little bit more cushion. I think, like I said, I think we do a lot more with a lot less compared to everyone around us. But there, you know, I would listen, you guys. As elected officials, we could always wish that there was more of a cushion for emergencies or a hurricane or anything that we might need. So, you know, I think it's enough, but you know, I would always wish in a perfect world for more of a cushion, but I never want I never want any of us to have to pay more money, our residents. So.
And now we get to look at it in 2024. We get to look at it in 2024. And it looks very nice. I mean, look at it. We adopted it at 2.8 million, right? Fiscal 23, July 31, it's at 3.4 million. Department requested 3.3, thank you, City Manager. And the village proposed 3,312. Makes it 16.90%. Makes it a 16.90%. Kind of high, but it sounds like it's working with the trend. 16.90% difference between 1 year and the next year. Yes, Mayor, am I saying that right?
Yeah,
That's the difference.
Yeah, you're looking at. Which line you looking at, man?
I'm at the bottom, total general revenue.
Oh, the
revenue.
total, yeah, the total,
The
yes,
total.
yes.
So when you see
Yes,
what,
that's the increase,
you
yes.
see what how we end the year in '23 and how we begin the year, that's department requested. So kudos to the departments, Madam City Manager. Kudos.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Anybody else for a revenue page?
Yeah, just one question to follow up on Dr. Lightfoot Ward. So are we looking at being 600,000 over for this year? And next year's budget, we're requesting $100,000 less than what will come to a total of this year? Is that what I'm looking at?
You're looking at the bottom, you're looking at that we're over, yeah, we're 3.4. Next year, we're looking at 3.3. You guys have to understand that. Go ahead here.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I'll answer that for her. The reason being is that at the current fiscal year, the village received $538,000 in federal funding for Irma. I'm sorry. So obviously, we're not anticipating any of that for next year. Hence the large number for 23 and the reduced number for 24.
All right, you guys. Anybody else for the revenue? Remember, when you guys look at the 2024 proposed, that's because, you know, we're all looking into we're looking at what we got this year, but we're looking into what's going to be reoccurring, right? And therefore, we make our projection for next year. All right. We good on the revenue page? Okay. All right, council page. Everything pretty much stayed the same as far as the departments requested. Communication and freight, that stayed the same, everything. The discretionary, the awards, there's year-to-date, memberships year-to-date. Any questions about the council page?
I do have a question.
Yes.
I haven't used my discretionary funds for last year. So I'm just wondering
Why is it
how
showing?
year-to-date is
Yeah.
10,000. And also I had a question earlier that the manager kind of addressed, is that if you don't use your $1,000, that does not roll over, you just get an additional $1,000. So I guess, I know that I didn't use my $1,000, so is that a typo?
Yeah, we can correct that.
Yeah.
Also, I stand corrected, you get two,
Whoa, you're killing me over here. Hi. You know I'm an alien, you're killing me.
have to, I stand corrected. It's $2,000 you get for
Oh,
discretionary,
you
not
got
one.
2,000. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I haven't used the dime of my 2,000. So I guess that is a typo. Now I know that I have it, but,
I'll look into it.
okay,
Sorry about that.
thank you.
What is it, what do we need to have funds for? Just tell me, 236 is what we deposit in the, whatever, that is just free money like that. It's not increasing, is it? Is that what I'm hearing?
Anything that-
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's not
All right,
increasing.
all right.
I was just saying, it reflected that it was all used, and I was saying I
Oh.
haven't used mine.
I haven't used mine either.
Yeah, so there seems to be some discrepancy on that.
I'll take a look at it again. My
Thank
apologies.
you.
I
No worries.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't used mine either, so.
Well, whether I use it or not, it goes in the bank.
So that,
Oh, because of the reserve.
I just have a quick question. And that is the awards budget correct in terms of year-to-date?
yeah, the awards budget is correct in terms of year-to-date.
So though you only spent $1,181, the proposal is still back at 2,000.
Yeah. There's, a couple more awards I'm gonna be buying also, and I think I have one receipt that I haven't put in there yet, but yeah,
Okay,
all right.
all right, just
So
wanted.
2,000 is, if you guys can keep it there, that's good. I think, and Councilperson Martin's correct, I think part of the confusion was, last year's, informational exposition, which I use discretionary from, Vice Mayor, from, Councilperson Erbaum, from Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. But
Yeah,
that
that's
was,
right,
that's a
that's right.
confusion, because that took place, even though the pay for it came through this year.
Mhm.
But it was last year's.
But the actual event took place the last Saturday of September.
Yeah,
Yeah, but some of the bills came in for this year.
yeah,
So, and they told me that I could use their discretionaries for that.
yeah, that's smart.
But that also wasn't me. So
Yeah,
I-
yeah, no.
I didn't authorize. I just want to make clear like what I'm using and what I'm not using, and I haven't touched
Yeah,
any city funds, including those discretionary funds available to me.
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Anybody else for the council?
nope.
Administration and Finance. Take your time, look over it. Any questions about this? Councilperson Martin?
I just have to, I need a minute to check my tabs.
No
It's a
problem.
little too digital for me at this point. Okay, so I do see on executive salaries, there's an increase from 124 to 134. I just want to know what that is. Not saying that that's an issue, just want to know what's the increase?
Executive salaries is the manager's salary.
Okay, and that is a salary that's based on the evaluations? I'm sorry, I missed last council meeting where we spoke about
Yeah.
staff evaluations.
Yeah, that's based on COLA, and also it'll be based on that. And I have the evaluations with us, and I didn't bring them with me tonight, but
Okay.
what I'll do is I'll drop them off at your house.
Okay.
I'll drop off all the three things at your house.
Okay. Don't be alarmed by the screaming children.
No problem.
They're safe.
I'll do like I
It's
usually
fine.
do with my hanger, with my door hanger. I'll hang them. I'll hang them over.
No, they'll be in the window screaming
Yeah.
at you.
I'll do that for all of you. I'll hang them onto your doors.
I don't mean to interrupt, but the best way of distribution through my department.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to anything that you guys are gonna be voting on or discussing when it comes to any of us, just
I got you.
clarifying.
This seems to make sense.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also, the 134 represents the contract as well that we have with the village manager. So it's assuming that everything is going to come to fruition and the manager will receive her
This
part
makes sense.
increase.
Of course, we love our manager and all will work out, but just want to know that it's cost of living increase and it's also the anticipated glowing report and review that you will have, and that's why we're increasing.
Yep.
So that's good to know.
Oh, also, you need to, also, you're no longer a contract employee, are you? You're a public employee, right? Mayor, manager? It's okay, that's.
I have an
that's-
employment contract.
Yeah, and I'm concerned about that. It doesn't give her a whole lot. If we all kinda got wiped out, the manager might have a problem staying. Because they're gonna say she's a contract city manager, not a permanent staff. That kinda keeps rolling in my head. I don't want anything negative to happen to the council. So Mayor, that's your staff, that's your projection, that's yours. But if, with the work that our staff's members have been doing, they don't need to be concerned about being dismissed just because they're contract. That bothers me. That bothers me a lot, because that's not fair. It's not fair at all. But if you are a contracted employee, then you stand like that. We need to, so this does not happen, because you don't fire a city servant, a civil servant. You don't do that. You gotta go through a real process for a civil servant. But for a contracted, you gotta look into that, because I won't be here all the time, and that would just rub me wrong, and I'll be right up here in this council raising all kind of cane because a new set of people came through and decided that the manager had to go because she's a contract employee. I mean, that doesn't sit well with me. I need her, she's been that loyal to us. I need her permanency to be acknowledged and not, under jeopardy by no circumstances. I'm just saying.
Yeah, thank
wanna
you,
say
Council President, Lightfoot Ward. I think I'll let Manager Lou come in, but, the contract, per charter, but the contract also, provides her with some, safety, nets. Because, Florida's an at-will, work, state, so you can fire somebody for no reason. You can fire somebody just when you want to fire somebody, but the contract also lays out, in the contracts for all of our contracted employees that we have per charter, what the contract does is that it says things like, if you do want to get rid of this person, you have to do it by, majority, 3 votes or majority of a council vote, and things like that. Those things are spelled out in the contract for safety purposes. It's just, I understand what you're saying, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, but it's just, you kind of have to look at it from both ways, because if Florida wasn't an at-will work state, which Vice Mayor Perella knows, because I know he's a manager of a large, large commercial chain. So I know whenever one of his employees don't do right, he's like, hey,
sector.
the private sector. But Manager Lou, you might want to come in, but we have to be really careful about her safety.
That's right.
Also.
That's what I'm talking
No,
about. I don't want any negative, anything to happen. This manager's been in place. She does the work just the way, overtime and all of that other stuff. That's the manager. But when I read it every single year, I just get totally, I know that, listen, you all know I was a city manager for 20 years. I saved a lot of people's jobs because they couldn't just be fired just out of a whim. We get a different council up here, the manager may be gone. And I'm through talking about this subject.
Well, I don't want to add more fuel, but I'll just say, I appreciate your sentiment, and I understand what you're saying, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, but do know that it is the standard in this industry that all managers have contracts, and most of them, political appointees in our positions have to have an employment contract. I mean, our village clerk has one, our attorney should have one, our CFO. So those safeguard against any other issues. Again, we are
You telling me you got a contract too?
It's gonna come up next month, just heads up, because my contract, yeah. We're charter officers, so the charter, at any point, we work at the pleasure of the council.
Yes.
Me, Manager Lou, and what the contract does is protects us as some way, because like, Mayor Nickerson was saying, it's that we're at the will, but hold on a second, we are also employees, we have certain things that, so it just doesn't come that, the good thing is that it has to be the majority of the votes, but we're still at the pleasure of the council. If 3 of you decide and that this no longer works for you, this no longer works for the city, then we're gone. But what protects us is the actual contract. On that
Now,
note,
I
just-
do have something to say, or a question, most like a question for the manager. I mean, the regular salary over here, is that, that regular salary is for
Mr. Perez.
Office administrator, sorry, this microphone.
office administrator? So it's that person, David,
Yeah.
and he's your assistant, or is he, what?
No, he's a full-fledged office administrator, but he does the day-to-day, accounts.
Accounting and,
Sorry, my mic is on.
David handles a lot of the day-to-day accounting,
Account.
as well as assist the manager with a lot of her administrative functions as well.
administrative functions,
But as
okay.
it relates to
No,
finance.
and I'm asking that question because, and again, is, it's just, I looked across a few, budgets, that actually this year's, budget workshop for a few cities, and I've seen like, of course, I didn't read or I didn't see any of the contracts, but, on the manager side, the increase was about 5%, the most.
That's right.
You know,
That's exactly right.
3.8, 5% was the highest was Pinecrest at 5%, 5.8%. And I understand, those places, they're all, even Biscayne Park, they have their manager assistant, and you are pretty much doing the job yourself. So that's what I want to clarify about these are the salary, these are the position here, whether it was some sort of your, assistant or, because when we talk about 8% every year, when it gets to a certain point, it's gonna get to the point that it's gonna be.
It's gonna be too, it's not gonna be, it's gonna be too high.
It's gonna be too
It's
high.
gonna be too high.
Yes.
I don't want the back door to happen
Right.
to you. I don't want that back door. I don't want the
And-
back door to happen to you. I don't want that. If a person's been here long enough and they can retire, they're gonna be real comfortable, okay? But they don't need to be threatened if you got a new council. No, none of our staff needs to be threatened with a new council, and they will be. Been in this business a long time. When I contracted out for someone, it was temporary. But when I noticed that the person is working toward where they need to be, they were permanent. It would take an act of God to fire a person that I hired as a public servant, not a contracted employee.
No, another thing is, like, let me ask you, to the CFO. Forgot, I'm sorry.
It's okay, that's their last birthday.
Now, when those salaries, those are basic salary, like the county, or in this case, the municipality pays for all the 100% for all the benefits, right?
The village.
It's not like in the private sector that, your salary is 100,000, and then you get all the deductions for Medicaid, Medicare, retirement, this and that, and all of that good stuff. So here, it's a basic salary, and the municipality actually pays everything else, insurance.
Yes, the village pays salary plus insurance, health insurance, and then there's also
Nothing comes out from the employee.
nothing comes out of it from the employee.
So-
And then, I'm sorry, let me phrase that. There's a base standard coverage that's offered to the employees, that's only, that's covered by the municipality. In addition, the village covers the cost for the retirement benefits, which is the pension plan, the FRS pension plan.
Right.
We do have an employee. We have an employee. We have a state employee.
Okay,
Come on, guys, we've been doing this a long time.
if I can, I'm gonna remind the council that the reason that the FRS was set up was so that Mayor Cubillos could give herself extra retirement benefits, and that it created a problem regarding whether people were employees or not, and that, I'm just gonna tell you right now and remind this council, Claudia Cubillos put us in this situation so she could get extra retirement benefits. And that's why there's now a discrepancy about who's an employee and who's, because of that and because of the previous administration and specifically her.
I wasn't gonna bring up that, but thank you. I wasn't gonna bring up that. I'm only talking about today. He's right. He's absolutely right.
You have to be
I'm
vested.
talking about just what I'm talking about. And it's no joke. A contract employee is just that, a contract employee. If we all get wiped out today, our city manager would not have a leg to stand on. If you got a contract too, you wouldn't have a leg to stand on. If the whole council just left out, you would not. Because it's not a government employment, it's a government contract.
I have a question, and I definitely value what you're saying. I think that's just how the structure is constructed. And it allows for some sort of movement because maybe a new body would not do well with this manager and they need to have the flexibility to decide who serves them. So I think in every municipality, that's the setup and that might be the reason, but I understand how much you appreciate the manager's work and how much you want her to continue to be the manager for the village. For sure. I just don't think that that's something that is contemplated by the structure of the thing that we are functioning under. But I do want to move on, if that's possible, to the legal retainer portion, because in that section, I don't think that we have a contract with our current attorney. And I have serious questions as to whether or not we're inuring a benefit in this bargain. Because from my understanding, there is no real way for us to quantify how many hours is being spent on village work, and therefore no way for us to determine how much per hour we're paying. So because we don't have an existing contract, I think this would be a great time for us to think about whether or not we want to bid out for these services, just to see whether or not we are getting a benefit. Maybe the attorney we have is a really awesome deal, but I don't know how we would surmise that, because from what I was told, there is really no way to see how many hours he is spending on village business, and therefore I think no way for us to quantify how much we're actually paying him per hour. And the fact that he has not even constructed a contract for his own services gives me pause as to how much of a fervor there is to complete village business. So just wondering whether or not we could look to see whether or not there is someone else that is willing to provide legal services to the village.
Thank you. She's right on point, but I happen to know he works for a company. Joe Geller does not work for Joe Geller. Joe Geller works for a company. I just can't think of the name of it, but it's a very, there you go, Green Spoon. That's why he's where he is here. He is he has a job, but he works through that company. And that is not the same thing as what our manager works through. I was here when we got him. I'm here now, and it's the same company. So I'm not, that really is what gave me. He's got job security at the company. You don't have to worry about us. But we've had him for so long because he knows the village. Matter of fact, he changed the parameters under which we operate so smoothly now. That's why we've had him so long.
Well, my question is whether or not we should continue to have him and how we can go about looking into that. And I do understand it's not Joe Geller, it is Green Spoon Martyr, but this is a large chunk of the budget. $96,000 is not, it's nothing to sneeze at. And if we can get those services cheaper, that makes sense to me. If there is a young attorney, a young municipal attorney that would take a lesser salary and just dedicate themselves to village business, I think that would be better for us. If there's a firm that could provide us with at least responsive legal representation and presence, I think that would be a better way to spend this $96,000. Just looking at this budget, to me, this is the glaring area where we can figure out how to either make our dollars work harder for us or to spend less dollars. So I think that's the question as far as how quickly could we put something out to see what other legal services we could retain?
May I answer? Councilperson Martin, we actually did do an RFQ for this with the members of the council, the more senior ones here, Councilperson Urban, the Vice Mayor, and Mayor Nickerson, to get legal services at a time when the village was going through a big transition and the new council came on board. Mr. Geller won that award.
Yes, you did.
So this was 4 years ago.
I think I remember, and I also think we had, what, like 2 submittals?
I'm sorry, we had 3.
3 submittals? Yeah, I don't know, the climate might be different, and there might be some additional bidders, or, in the alternative, we just need to talk about how to get the representation that we have to work, because I think that not even having a contract through which governs your own employment with the body that you are employed to represent, I think that's problematic. I think the responsiveness as far as like village issues and items that we want to put forward is problematic. I think the issues with the ordinances that we say are done and have glaring issues in them and laws that cannot be in any way enforced, I think that is all problematic. And I think to pay $96,000 for that is atrocious. So I'm just saying that maybe we need to put it out again and see who else responds. And I would love to see how we go about doing that. And also how we advertise that to figure out, hey, who's responding? Or maybe look at just having a village attorney that's dedicated to El Portal.
Yeah, so I'll say I largely agree with Councilperson Martin, and it will have been 5 years into 2024, and so, I mean, every 5 years as a general rule would probably be a good idea to evaluate this type of service anyway, and I voted for Green Spoon Martyr, but I do also think the climate is different. It's been almost 5 years, 4 years, 3.5 at least. So,
Enough.
by the time anything would come to fruition in terms of, respondents to an RFQ and going through that process and voting for it, easily we're into the 4th and 5th year. And I certainly echo the concerns regarding not having a standing contract, at least, with measurable clauses, so to speak.
And if it's the will of the council, of course, I will follow your lead. The village attorney falls under your purview. He's not under the administration. I just believe that this is just paid through administration and finance. So that if it is the desire of the council to do an RFQ.
Well, I know it's my desire,
Okay.
so I don't know about everyone else, but
Right, it's got to be a full, motion from a full council, yeah, a motion from a full council meeting, yeah.
If his job is gonna be discussed amongst you guys, it has to be in a meeting where it's advertised so that the public can also have input.
yeah, I don't think that's a problem.
No,
I
no,
think
yeah,
I think we should discuss it. And also, Green Spoon Martyr can also submit for the RFQ. I mean, we're not saying that we are dismissing
No,
him.
I'm just saying to
We're
move
saying
forward.
we want to
Yeah.
see what else is out there.
Yeah, are you saying, Madam Clerk, for us to decide to even go forward with the RFQ, it has to be at a.
This meeting is this meeting is only a budget workshop to discuss the budget. I mean, you guys can have this discussion as she had it. This is an open, but to move forward with it, it has to be in a meeting where you bring it up and it's an item.
Okay, so the item would be legal services RFQ. It would be legal services RFQ for the next council
We've
meeting.
already had it with the attorney position before and had to be brought back because it was not done appropriately.
That's right.
No worries, I'll
No,
definitely
no, no.
sponsor the
Yeah,
item.
I'm just doing it for everybody's.
No,
yeah,
for sure, and I
yeah,
appreciate
for
you
knowledge.
making sure
Yeah.
that procedurally we're sound.
Right.
And I have no problem being the one to sponsor the
Right.
item for the next council meeting where it is available to us to put those new items on the agenda. Yes.
As a
Yeah.
discussion,
Well, not a discussion, it would just be.
It'll be a-
Yeah. Like that.
For legal services, then I will say, accountant services too, I'm sorry to say, but what the numbers I see here, I need to, I think we need to do something about it too. So we'll go to that line later, but, yeah.
Is everybody, okay, so in the September meeting, in a few weeks, we'll have legal services, RFQ, discussion and possible item? All right, so I'll make sure that's on the agenda.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Anybody else for the legal services, you guys, before we move on to Vice Mayor, Perrella?
No.
All right, Vice Mayor Perrella, what were you saying?
Oh, no, going down the list, well, we're going, I don't know if anybody has any more questions about any, the lobbyist is one item that I've been saying that which, right now, I don't know if manager, I don't know if you think it's of any advantage to us or does any good for us to have them, since most of the grants and everything, are 50-50 match, and we don't have that ability of having any.
I can say there is a benefit to having a lobbying team, but, I mean, we can also look at doing an RFP as well for that. Because, these things change as well. Political climates change constantly in Tallahassee. And we love Richard and Eli, but, we may need a new group with some different kinds of relationships to champion El Portal.
Okay.
So, I mean, I have an RP, a draft ready. All we have to do is, see if that's the route we want to go.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there is a benefit to having a lobbyist team, but I would like to see more action. And we do a lot, even without the team. We are always,
Right.
So I know that looks like, well, we don't really need them, but we do need someone there who's representing the village.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
if I could, on the topic of lobbies, I'll just say that I believe that we need a consistent presence in Tallahassee, regardless of what the climate might be, and that, sure, we could switch companies, switch, lobbying groups, or whoever might be a better fit for us, but I do feel strongly we should have a consistent presence in Tallahassee without any type of gaps to that effect. Those personal relationships, in terms of at least people in Tallahassee hearing the phrase El Portal, village of El Portal, village of El Portal, repeatedly ad nauseum in Tallahassee does have a benefit. So I would not want to see us lose lobbying altogether.
Were you done,
Okay,
Yeah.
if I could then, the next line, the professional fees, if I could just get a rundown of what manner of professional fees those entail. It's just right below professional fees lobbyist. It's just a generic professional fees.
Mayor, while they're trying to figure it out, it just doesn't seem right that we should be increasing everything on this budget. I mean, come on, people, we don't have to increase everything on this budget. We're working ourselves out to a zone of no return. Everybody has to have an increase. And I'm glad you brought up the lobbyist person, because when we see a lobbyist, we just see a lobbyist and they come and they go. If the session is out, that's it. Well, why are we increasing everything? Does anybody ever think about where this money comes from? It's taxpayers' money. This is where this stuff is coming from. And why we have to change everybody? Why do we have to increase everybody? I mean, you got 2023 adopted, for example, a lobbyist, 30,000, 32,000? Why? Why you gotta increase everything? We see them, what, 2-3 times a year? Some of this, you don't need all these increases. I'm not understanding all these increases.
May I interject for a second? What you have here is the forecast, right? So it's a budget, so it's based on historical information. So these fees can fluctuate month to month. So, and based on historically, they have gone up. So when you see a slight increase year over year, you're factoring a couple of things. One, you're factoring in inflation, right? Cost of living adjustments year over year, right? Inflation year over year is up almost 3-4%, just over year. From the last couple of years, they say, some people say it's up 12-13%. So there's a real factor as far as costs being increased. But the other thing you need to note also, these are estimates, you know, so some of these line items are estimates. You see $32,000, again, so it's making an assumption that yes, there will be an increase based on what I just described. The number may come in at 26,000, it may come in at 34,000. There's really no way of knowing. That's what a budget is. A budget is a best guess estimate, something that you can guide yourself and manage your operation so that you have something to work with as a guide to guide you and navigate you through the uncharted waters.
Did I miss out something? Did I not say I was city manager? I know what this is about. I know why we do it. I'm asking a little question. The question is it necessary? We see the lobbyists maybe 4 times a year and they gotta get an increase. Everybody's gotta get an increase just because? Or can we just simply be more monetarily sane about what is necessary and what is not? We got this, if we keep going down that train, on that railroad track, we're gonna find ourselves past our 8.3. We're gonna find ourselves in situations that future council members are gonna go back and say, what the world were they thinking about? Every year you don't have to increase everything, especially if it's a contract. Because people out there bidding all the time trying to get in rather than trying to get out. Because 4 times a year is not satisfactory for $30-some thousand. You come in 4 times a year, here in this place? Yes, I took notes, yes. But it just doesn't make sense to me. Why are we increasing pretty much every single, and let me tell you something, I'm not insensitive about the work that was put in place to put these numbers. I'm not trying to be ugly. I know it takes time to put this stuff together. That's what I did for 30 years. I know it takes time. But when I come back and realize we just giving everybody raises, come on, people.
Again,
I like my staff properly with salaries. I like my staff properly, but all these other things, no.
Councilman, to answer your previous question as it relates to the professional fees, I didn't get back to you on that previously. Are you referring to the proposed or the year-to-date?
Well, I have a question about the line item. So,
Okay.
so adopted 10, year-to-date 8875, which seems to be on a schedule, and then requested next year down to 5.
Sure. So the proposed line item that you see there were the fees associated to refinancing the note with Synovus Bank. That's what the 8875 represents. Again, placeholder for next year. Funds coming in, there's a possible refinancing that may have to happen again, since we did receive these funds from the state. So again, as placeholder, preparing, making sure that there's a line item and money's available if that expense does come to fruition in the upcoming fiscal year.
And so the full tab to Synovus? No.
One more time?
There we go, yes.
No, let me ask.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, there's another fee that was associated here. A contract needed to be made between the village and the Village of Miami Shores. I had to get outside counsel to write the contract.
Okay. I do have a question on the next line, if nobody else has a question about professional fees. Okay, so for accounting and audit, and then below that contracted accountant. So to Dr. Lightfoot Ward's point, the accounting and audit, we have budgeted 31,000 this past year. We spent 32, and then next year projected 35. I would expect to see the projected next year less because we did multiple audits this year. So how, just run down how,
The fees that you see here are for one annual audit. So the municipality is paying roughly $30,000 to $35,000 per year for an annual audit.
so then
The
the
pre-
backlog, yes, sir.
Yeah, so the backlog audits were recorded in the prior year. Those were actually done, most of that work was done in fiscal '22, and most of those invoices were paid in '22, and whatever we could charge back to '22 at year end, we did that as well.
Okay, so then, in terms of the fee charged per audit, is that set by you?
That's set by the auditors.
Set by the auditors?
Yeah, Caballero,
Okay.
the auditors.
Okay.
They have
And,
I'm sorry, they're an independent third-party auditor that comes and audits the
Gotcha.
municipality.
and have they notified us that the fee would increase next year by $2,700?
Again, I have not received notification. This is me, again, historically looking at the numbers over the last 3 years and seeing a nominal increase. The expectation is another increase. We haven't focused on '24. Obviously, the work up until now is has been catch-up, which we've done. We're finalizing '22. So we haven't really focused on '24. So again, once I'm trying to stay on point and getting this thing done so that we can finally catch up.
And the years are lagging, right? So the budget from '23 pays for the '22 audit, the budget from '24 pays for the '23 audit, correct?
Correct.
Yes, okay, all right. I have a question on the next line, if nobody else has a question for
I
accounting
have
and
the
audit.
same question, but I'll let you, I think we have the same question. We
Go
can
ahead, you go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to know why the increase from 72 to 96?
You want me to speak for myself, or?
I mean, you can speak for yourself. I know that, you know.
I mean, I've had numerous conversations. I have no problem sharing you my thoughts. I mean,
I would love your thoughts.
Okay, sure. Well, quite honestly, well, first of all, this would be my first potential increase since I started, right? So so this would be the first increase in 3 years that's being proposed for this position. In addition, one of the things that I did mention to the mayor at the will of the commission, make everyone more comfortable, I have no problem freezing this rate for the following fiscal year as well, so kind of blend it in to hold the cost. So there are no increases for future years. The main reason for this is honestly, it's the amount of work that it took to get to where we are today. The 3 audits over a 15 to 18-month period, to be able to get the municipality. When I first arrived, the municipality was on a blacklist with JLAC. Funding from the state was cut off. We were in the process. At that point in time, the municipality was not receiving its local income tax as well as its revenue sharing.
Talk about how much money I was losing.
Absolutely.
We were
So
losing that
on a
thing.
monthly basis, you were probably looking at somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000 a month of lost revenue. I jumped right in, and within 6 months, I was able to get that flag released. You know, putting in the extra hard work and the extra hours needed to get it done, I was able to get the red flag listed and get the revenue sharing portion of the holdback delivered to the state within 6 months, and then within 12 months was able to get the local option tax as well. So unfortunately, the municipality did take a hit over that time, but I think with my hard work and the dedication that I put in and with the work with the manager and the staff here, we were able to quickly turn it around and get the village back on track. In addition to that, I'm also working internally with staff to streamline processes so that we can get to the 21st century. A lot of the issue, there were some major challenges as it relates to the backlog of the audits, and that's going to require a lot of internal work where we're going to have to put policies and procedures in place to help clean up these infractions. Some of them we've started. For example, payroll, right? There were some internal control issues that we had as it relates to payroll. We corrected that issue by taking that out of a manual situation where everything was being manually entered and manually calculated to a systematic, third-party dedicated software, ADP, where everything is tracked properly, managers are signing off and everything's being tracked. So all managers are signing off before everything's being processed, everything's being reviewed and analyzed before before anything gets processed. Also, helping the village manager on additional audits. We had a CITT audit as well that I'm handling to try to resolve that issue. And also working with the manager over the last 15, 18 months, worked with the manager and again, with some of the county policies the financial policies that were needed to be updated in order to work with her in hopefully securing some grants in the future.
Thank you for that.
I know it's a
real
lot.
comprehensive. You're a good representative for yourself.
Thank you.
Your
I try.
argument on the work that you've done previously doesn't really move me because you bargained for that amount, right? Like you had a contract, knowing how much work it would take, you bargained for a certain amount and you did the work within the confines of that amount, correct?
Yes and no. I'm more than happy to have the debate with you. I say yes and no. I kind of did know, but at the same time didn't know the work that it entailed. Yes, I knew we were multiple years behind in our audits, willing to take on the risk and the challenge to get it done, right? But did not know what it took, right? Because I was thrown into it, accepting it, not knowing what it was, because of the need and demand of wanting and needing somebody, right? And jumped right in and it really took care of the situation for you.
For sure, and I think the word you used is the pivotal word, is risk, right? So you look at a problem, you say how much you're willing to be paid to solve said problem, and sometimes that inures to your benefit, it's not that complex of a problem, sometimes it's more complex. But, I'll pause you before you jump in there, your argument about the future, what you are planning to do, the procedures that you're willing to enhance and improve, I find that persuasive as far as maybe you'll look at the village and you'll say, hey, my price has gone up, right? I kind of know the lay of the land, I know what I need to do, and this is how much it will cost me to do that for you guys. So I get that. That one is persuasive. The work that you've already done does not persuade me, although it has been good work. It has been good work. But once you bargain, once you say, hey, this is how much you pay me for this service, you don't get to go back and dip in that well and say, well, I should have charged. So that's just what I'm saying. The second part of that is, I think this dovetails into like my bigger question about the employee evaluations. When we look at this proposed expenditure for the attorney, for the CFO, are we saying that it is that amount if we do these evaluations and this employee gets like stellar reviews, then they I suppose get that increase or that bonus? Or are these numbers telling us this is how much we will be paying this employee, like from jump without the evaluations? Which is it? I'm a little lost.
The second one.
Okay.
The CFO.
Okay.
Our CFO did not have a contract. We had proposed a contract, but we never could get it resolved with the attorney. So he proposed another contract, and this one had the increased fee in it. I did several RFPs. I even hired a headhunter to find a CFO when we were really struggling at our worst. Mr. Traubenfeld was the only person who responded and qualified, and who was qualified to do the work. And so we had to take that chance, and we did, and worked out, and thank goodness he got us where we needed to be. I understand 72,000 was lower, and that's why we didn't get responses. But small municipality, I explained all that to him, and he was willing to take us on. So I do understand that now he wants to present his contract, and he feels like this is what is appropriate for a CPA. I have asked at other municipalities, like Miami Shores has full-time CFO, and their starting salary is $140,000. So, I see that need, and so when he presented it to me, because it was such a high number, considering what we had been paying, I brought it before the council, because it really is something that we should look at as a general body.
This is also, I find this persuasive as well, as far as whether or not, and I'm sorry, I made you a charter officer. But that just means that you're doing something well. But yeah, you were not a charter officer. But This I also find persuasive. Whether or not we are able to find someone else to do an equal level of work in this climate, I find that persuasive. So if you're saying that 96,000 is like a fair amount for what you do, and then the manager is also saying, hey, based on what we need and the performance I've seen, this is justified, I can take that.
And again, if you go by what the whole, situation we have with the audits and all of that, and been done in past 2 years, and you took on that project and finish it, and, bring us back on track when it comes to all of that. And I echo,
Councilman Martin.
Council Martin about, sentiment about, like, you don't go back and do retroactive and what you should have charged or anything like that. I did look at the, I go more with Biscayne Park because they're very similar, and the taxes, and the budget, and the number for the budget, around $3 million, as opposed to Miami Shores, that's $20-30 million. And their finance accountant, is they going from 65 to 71. And again, it's 5% increase. I don't know what that would entail, but I assume it should be the same. I don't know if the accounting is something that is a full-time, because again, we don't have a track of times or anything. Those are contractors, and you get to do it in your own office. You don't have to actually come to the village. So nobody knows how many hours you put into your work. The fact that you get things done, that's what matters. But I don't know. Again, it's a question to the manager. Do you think from now on, is it something that we need a full-time? It's this, because this amount to me is excessive, going from 72 to 96.
I understand.
You know.
And I was bringing Miami Shores up because that's a full-time CPA, or full-time CFO. Our CFO is part-time. So, understanding, I'm sure, same with Biscayne Park. So I know that there's work. I don't think we have enough work for a full-time CFO. I don't think we can afford that. Part-time is
So this is a
sufficient, but
part-time
I
at 72,000.
This is a part-time job.
What are you talking about 72? This is 96.
No, also
Currently, he's
Oh, well, you talking about last year's budget, but it came in at 60.
Yeah.
To
Today,
date.
year to date.
Well, but we're at the end of it.
Yeah, we're at the end. Come on, let's don't play,
Mhm.
don't play games like that. Just, hey, 72 is different from 96. 60,000 different from 96. People, we're talking about taxpayers' money. We're talking about what we want, how we want to build this village later. We're talking about long-term, we're talking about longevity. We're not talking about just a year. We're talking about longevity. Who's willing to stay with us because they're not trying to chew us and then spit us out? And this is, the village is not big. This is a bunch of hockey pock in more ways than one. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because we keep thinking that we're gonna grow bigger. We got a bunch of people up in here that's making a lot of money. But until that money materializes inside of this budget, we just guessing. We're just guessing on what will and will not happen. You did a good job. You got us, ain't nobody gonna minimize that. You got us from a place that we didn't know how we were gonna leave. But right now, we're trying to make sure we don't come back and start telling the residents, well, we over budgeted. We thought, silly stuff like that. When we're sitting here trying to make sure we have what we need, not what we want.
Yeah.
If I may, I believe that this budget has everything that you need, and we haven't gotten there yet. And I guess I don't want to say for the mayor, but when you get to later in the budget, if you haven't noticed it, even with all these additions, potential additions, there's still a contingency line item.
That grew.
That gives you the cushion, I believe, gives the village the cushion it needs for any potential uncertainties.
Yeah, let me just jump in here really quickly. I hear everybody, and then I hear what you all are saying.
So, yeah, just super quickly. So the contingency budget right now sits at 50,000. And Hurricane Irma, the contingency budget sat at 790,000. 790,000. Our contingency budget sits at 50,000 right now. So until that cushion from pre-Irma is restored, I refuse to be satisfied with a contingency budget of less than $800,000.
That's a really great perspective to have. That's a really great, strong point. Yeah, I'm gonna let the mayor finish, but the jump is concerning, for sure.
Yeah. Well, let me just kind of put things into perspective. So, the contingency budget, the contingency line, like it's year to date already like at 63, like almost 20,000 over. So we grew that, with all of these kind of budget recommendations, we still grew the contingency, from 47 to 63. If you guys remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but when I first came in as mayor, the contingency was 11,000, I believe. When I first came in as mayor, it was 11,000. And we've grown it steady ever since. So, we grew it to 47, and now we're growing it up, and it's already at 63 year to date. So, we're trying to do what we can to continue to improve.
Yeah, but the problem is if you add all these increases, you go almost $300,000 in increases in 1 year.
I
So that's a
understand what
lot.
you're saying. I understand what
Yeah.
you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that the contingency with the proposed increases would still grow, like we're still growing it, is one of my main points. I do want to say also that, and maybe because, I'm not going against what anybody here said, but maybe because I did work with the situation so closely, because when I came in, I was the one that had to deal with the people from Tallahassee. I was the one that had to deal with the phone calls. I was the one that had to deal with the letters. So I just remember distinctively how we were taking, that hit every month. I remember those letters coming in. And I remember when at that time, which was CFO Chris Wallace, and I remember how he wouldn't do anything. And it was painful, and I didn't really talk too much about it, but all of the money from the state we were losing, and I remember I used to speak to Manager Alou and Clerk Jacoby about that money that we were losing, and to still be able to, in other areas, right, still be able to do things like, get the digital marquee, we still got the police cars, we still were able to improve on things, we were still able to just move forward and kind of like take care of our residents, take care of our community, so that we still continue to move forward in every way that we could. But we were really struggling, you guys. Like, we really lost out on a lot of money because of our last CFO and how the audits weren't taken care of and how the audits weren't right. And so it's just, I guess I kind of view it as in a different way, where not that, I guess I really don't view it as, CFO Tubblefield is reaching back to make up for the work that he did. I kind of see it as, he came in and kind of like did a great job with 3 audits in 1 year instead of 1 audit per year, which is normal, with stopping the bleeding to where, those letters I was getting every month and all the money that we were losing. And, we could have, myself and the manager and CFO Tubblefield and Clerk Jacoby, we could have just said, well, we have a built-in excuse, right? We were losing $250,000, 25 here, 25,000 there, and all those letters we were getting in. I could say, it's a built-in excuse. Well, when people say, people could have said, you know, well, we don't see anything happening in El Portal. El Portal's falling. And I could have said, well, you know what? Because of my predecessor, we were losing all this money. But we didn't do that. We really worked hard and improved in every area that we could with the deficits that we were having. And so I understand what you guys are saying, but I think I just look at it kind of like from that point, because we really,
Yeah, but that also falls into
You really
the
saved us a lot of
manager's
money.
position, because it's the financial responsible for the village's finances.
yeah, well,
And that's the position
well,
that the manager em- supersede, right? And then that's a position that you actually oversee, yeah. And that's the word, thank you. And so, you know, in a way, it's nobody else is responsible, responsibility, but, you know, if you know that employee is not doing their job, you don't let it go from 1 year to another.
you're talking about the previous CFO.
The previous CFO, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think when she recognized, you know, how bad it was, that's why she
That's why,
replaced
yeah.
him. Yeah, that's why she replaced him with the current CFO, you know, who's been here since 2021. So you guys have to understand.
correct.
Like, you know, we all came in 2020, then in 2020, 2021. So, you know, that changeover, even though that changeover seemed like a long time, because if you remember Vice Mayor Perella and Councilperson Urban, we were already here. Like, you know, we were already here for a little while. But that changeover came pretty quickly, and that's why I say also the manager's done a wonderful job also. But I think CFO Taubelfield really has done wonders for us also.
Can I, oh, go ahead.
If I may add just one thing, in hearing the mayor speak, and thank you, Mayor, there's one thing I do want to add, and I take what you both you, Councilman Martin and Vice Mayor, about not clawing back. But the one thing I failed to mention, and the mayor reminded me, is that I got zero, and when I mean zero support from the previous CFO. That was not factored in my calculation, in what I needed to do, right? My expectation was to come in, have somebody with me, guide me, so that I can take the reins and run with it. I got zero. I got none of it. Zero. Countless emails, countless phone calls, totally unresponsive. So I literally walked into a black hole and really had to just go page by page and try to figure it out. That I did not expect.
And we threatened a lawsuit multiple times, Councilperson Martin. I'm coming to you right now. We threatened lawsuit to the past CFO multiple times because he just wouldn't give any of the passwords or anything up. So he had to kind of do that from scratch. Councilperson Martin.
Okay, so yes, I completely take the points. It was super difficult what you walked into, and you did a really good job. And I don't think anybody can take that away from you. And certainly I want to say thank you, and I don't minimize what you and your staff have done at all. This is just strictly about the numbers, right? So you came in and you did this thing that was super difficult to do, and in circumstances that were not like enviable or conducive to success, but you pulled it out. And what the village did was we paid what we agreed to pay you, and that was it. And in addition to that, we've said thank you for the work that you've done and recognized that it was an amazing job, well done. And I think that is that. It's chapter's closed. Now, when we look at the 96,000, we say, what do we want you to do in the future? And next year, will you do $96,000 worth of it? And then when the manager mentioned the CFO in Miami Shores, I'm assuming that's a full-time position, right? So the 140 versus the 96 for part-time, that changes the analysis for me a little bit. For sure, 72,000 might not be enough, but I think we need more information as far as like what is the $96,000 going to get us, especially if we have you part-time. And I think that's the question that I need to have answered. Like, what are we getting next year that would justify the 96? Because it is a significant jump. Not saying that there doesn't need to be a jump, just saying that this is a really big jump. And to everyone else's point, if we save on some of these salary increases, that bottom line as far as the amount that we have in the reserves looks better and better. So I guess I want to know, what do we get for the 96? Could you just like walk me through it?
you're pretty much getting everything that you're getting now with the commitment of continuing and staying the course and being compliant with Miami-Dade County and with the state of Florida. Like I mentioned previously, there is a lot of work that still needs to be done. There's been a lot of catch-up, I should say, and now we're at the point where there needs to be some cleanup and implementation, and that's really where the next 6 to 12 months is going to come into place. We have no choice but to become compliant. As part of just to make everybody aware, right, what the audit does, if you have a third-party company come in and does an audit of our books, and what they're looking at are internal control, looking at various factors. One of them being, let's call it internal controls, right? So in the years prior to me, my predecessor, we'll say that the internal controls were not 100%. And and the auditors did find that, and they are what they call audit findings. Every year, the auditors prepare a report, and they give what's called audit findings. Audit findings are they could be they're stating that the financial information they're validating the financial information, but they're saying some of the procedures that they're doing need to be tightened up, tighten the loopholes. Going back to the example I used previously, payroll, right? They wanted to make sure that there was a manager's signature on the time cards, a supervisor signature on time cards, right? Back in 2018, 19, and 20, that wasn't happening. It just didn't happen, right? So because of that, it's called an audit finding. There's an audit finding. These audit findings need to be corrected, right? The municipality, I believe as of 2021, and I'm waiting for 2022, we should be getting shortly. I want to say anywhere between 8 to 10 findings. Each one of these has to be worked on, and each one of them has to be cured. So that's what my commitment is. In addition to everything that I'm doing on a day-to-day and a weekly basis, this is an added task that now needs to be taken on to make sure that we are compliant with the state. Because if we're not, then we can revert back to where we were back when I first started in 2021.
Thank you for that. And also, you're working with a firm, correct? It's not just you?
I have my own company.
Okay. Do you guys represent other municipalities at all, or are we the only?
You are currently the only one. I was the former finance director at the town of Pembroke Park.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson Martin. Anybody else for the administration and finance sheet?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So again, some of us have been through this in the past together, I suppose. But in terms of interim positions, right? So an interim position, by my thinking, should automatically trigger some sort of RFQ, RFP process, some sort of process to find the best candidate to replace that vacancy, right? And so, as I've said in the past about all of these issues regarding any type of a interim position, that is the opportunity to put the net out and see what you can find. So, I lived most of my life on tips as an adult, right? Like straight up. And so I am inclined when I go out to tip 30%. I'll tip 30%. Terrible service, I'll still tip 20, but maybe have a comment either to the server themselves or to the manager, whoever might benefit from it the most, right? I always appreciated when people would say something when I was managing. So understanding that I would love to be able to toss a 33% tip your way, but to Dr. Lightfoot Ward's point, this is not my money. I always tip with my money. And so I'm inclined to say, understanding the onion, right? We've now peeled the onion apart a little bit, and we understand the layers a little bit better, and we certainly appreciate being able to understand that better. I'm of the opinion that we should remain at 72 for now, issue, you know, talk to the manager about issuing an RFQ to find if there would be any small firms that could handle this part-time. Have no doubt we'd have one applicant already to that, and that any adjustment that would be required in the following fiscal year could be dealt with at that time in terms of, you know, hiring, procurement of the position, right? And then if it came out in the wash at that point to be $96,000, then we should be able to address that at that time. So, so that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Irvine. All right, so a couple of things. So first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, is CFO Tubblefield part interim?
No.
He's not interim. He was hired to be, yeah. So I don't think he's
Okay.
interim. So that's
Then I
very,
certainly apologize. That
Nope.
would be my misunderstanding.
No
I'm sorry
problem.
about that.
no problem, Councilperson Irvine. You know I love you, my brother.
And how long is the contract for?
So-
No contract.
No.
Yeah.
Contract has not been executed because we have not.
There's no contract.
A contract was presented
To-
to the village attorney, and it's sitting at his desk.
And you're saying this increase is attached to that contract?
No, not, that was the original.
The initial contract was sent to the attorney. and it
No,
was
no,
ne-
no, what I mean is the
I'm-
increase.
I'm going to explain to you. The initial contract was sent to the attorney and was never finalized.
Okay.
The $96,000 that you see here represents a new, potential new contract, yes.
There was a contract that was sent to me to be up for the next agenda.
But presently, we do not have a contract.
But presently, there is no
The
contract.
original
Right, right.
contract was never finalized by the village attorney.
Yeah.
Mayor, this doesn't look like we're gonna get this through. We're already getting real late on this one. Are we gonna go forward? Because you've had 3 recommendations already. It just seems high. Just seems very high. We appreciate what you did, but that's behind us now. If you maintain it, that's more gravy. But 96, when I do the ratio, it will come out to about 76,000. Take the 3 salaries, divide them, you're gonna have about some $76,000. So, my colleague here is right. Bring us back, because we're a little bitty village, and we're sitting here thinking we're a bigger size than we are. This is taxpayers' money, and we gotta do it right. Mayor, we've spent enough time on this one, we gotta move on.
Yeah, we'll move on, but I just want to get just procedure-wise, you guys, because he's not a chartered,
That's right.
you know, officer.
Right.
So he doesn't have necessarily a contract that comes before us, and the council hires him. So
So-
we're gonna have to.
So,
whatever
Madam
we have
Clerk,
to do, we have to talk through the
So-
manager.
so Clerk Jacoby, are you saying that
I did receive a contract to put
From-
for the next agenda.
from the attorney,
Yeah.
in this position
Yes.
specifically,
Yes.
to be
for that sp-
discussed
the-
at this month's general council meeting?
I think the manager was in copy, he was in copy, and so was the attorney. I did receive a contract for
Okay.
next month,
Yeah, to
For
me, that would be the
October, but-
wrong.
For September or for October?
September.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
is the move that we're just going to add this to, as a discussion item on the next council meeting in September, and move forward?
Well, this is the budget, and we gotta get it sorted out before then, so.
Well, the 96, I don't think that's working for anybody.
All right, so we can do this. So there's a couple of things we can do. We can, if we put it for, I just really think there's something procedure-wise about that, because if that would be the case, then we're really dipping into the manager's oversight, because then that would mean that now the code enforcement, everything about him has to come before the council, and everything about the human resources has to come before the council, and everything. So we're basically taking the manager out of the position and saying all her individuals up under her, like the front desk, we would have to decide, like they have to come before the council, and we decide who works at the front desk then. Or like, we're really getting into like murky waters there when it comes to charter when it comes to manager oversight compared to council.
I see completely what you're saying, and I'm not purporting to like set the fees, because this is the manager's budget, right? All of this. We're just saying to the manager, hey, when we see this $96,000 expenditure, we're saying, whoa, this doesn't look kosher.
So maybe
And
it's
for,
up to the manager
so
to
this
say-
is on the manager to kind of work out like
Work
what
it
that
down.
number is, but as it stands, the 96 isn't
It's not working.
working.
So we'll leave that up to Manager Alou, to decide that. I don't know. I guess Manager Alou and CFO Tuberville would, I don't know, will speak about it and
Because this
before
is the workshop, right?
This is the workshop, so the budget hearing is next week, next Tuesday.
Yeah, so maybe by
So
then,
by
the
next
number might
Tuesday,
look
the
better.
number- Yeah, yeah, so. And you guys can speak to the manager between now and then. and tell
This
her,
is
like,
where you
your
guys make the
idea.
recommendations, if you agree or not. I put it on the thing with the administration, or if you have any suggestions. This is where it happens. So if you have any suggestions where you think it might be different, it might be more, it might be less, or whatever, this is the moment.
Official suggestion, this needs to be lower.
And I understood that to be the suggestion.
Yeah,
Okay.
about $20,000 lower.
Yeah, I kind of disagree. I disagree with you guys, but, you know, we'll speak to the
We
manager.
can't always agree.
We can't always agree, but I love you, man, sister. I
That's
love you.
right.
All right, anything else on the administration and finance underneath that line item? Harry, Ms. Silva, you want anything to say before we move on from your item? Just to kind of close it up.
No, I appreciate, I just want to say thank you for all your comments. A little disappointed, to be honest with you, on full disclosure. But I take to heart what everybody has said, and hopefully the manager and I will work something out.
Mr. Mayor, with that said, and you said something about moving on, I don't see any problems with the next set of numbers. They're kind of consistent, and we might be at the end and don't even realize it.
Yes, but I do have one more comment on this.
Yeah.
So I was moving down to repair and maintenance. Budgeted last year 5,000, nothing expended, 2,500 proposed. I understand how, why of all of that, right? So something that was brought up earlier regarding the contingency line item further in the budget, right? So are these able, regardless of whether they are or not now, I guess, my ultimate question is, are we able to roll these things over? So we didn't use the 5,000. Can we roll that over to repair and maintenance? And now the budget's 7,500, 2,500 that we have proposed, plus the 5,000 that we didn't use from last year, although I'm guessing you're gonna tell me that we used that 5,000 somewhere else?
So to answer your question, right now, the way the budget is prepared, the assumption is that there is no rollover from prior years. Now, if you want to carry stuff over from one year to the other, theoretically, we can, but you're just taking, remember, so you have a budget, right? In order to have a budget balanced,
Yeah.
we know what our revenue, we have an estimate of what our revenue is.
Right.
So to balance the budget, our expenses have to come in line. So if we're gonna increase our line item here by, let's say, that 5,000, we're gonna have to take the 5,000 from someplace else in order to stay with,
Okay.
in order for the budget to stay in balance.
The reason I'm asking is because it's wonderful that the repair and maintenance budget, wasn't, tapped into. It's wonderful that the contingency plan has grown and not shrunk, right? However, specifically with things like repair and maintenance, I mean, these are always surprises, frequently big-ticket items. So if there was some way to kind of build a rolling savings plan into the budget, I'm just curious to know if there's any mechanism that would be available like that.
We do have a separate line item, and this is where most of the repair and maintenance does fall in. I believe it's in Public Works, under repair and maintenance, Village Hall.
Okay.
There's a decent number there.
So, okay, then let me ask you, Madam Manager, in terms of your budget, admin and finance, what manner of things are the repair and maintenance, like this $5,000, what would it be going to? What types of repairs? And
It could be the repair of the air conditioning. It could be.
that wouldn't fall under Public Works, that would fall under?
No, some
okay.
of this is just the village hall.
Okay.
So it could be a number of things.
Okay,
Just-
yeah, so then I
Things
definitely
come
would,
up all the time like this.
okay, yeah, I'd definitely be curious to know if there's any way to kind of create some type of long-term savings plan for things like, I mean, it's in the budget, it wasn't used, that's great, but if it could be rolled over and added to a larger, you know, coffer for the future, that would be, so I bring that up because I had this really interesting conversation with a former, I want to say he was a former mayor of Key Biscayne. And it shouldn't shock anybody to know that Key Biscayne is the only municipality in Miami-Dade County that has an actual savings plan. And when I say a savings plan, I mean like a climate change savings plan, like no joke. We're talking war chest, right? Because they know they're not fools. They know it's coming. They have some of the highest educated people on earth living on that island. And when they all get together, they came up with the same logical conclusion. We should have a war chest to go to battle when no one else is going to come help us, and the ocean is, you know, on our doorstep, right? So in terms of a smaller kind of, you know, shrunken down version of that, you know, in terms of handling an HVAC system if it goes out, right? I would love to see the village have some type of growing specific to repair and maintenance, kind of specific to, I don't know, when I see that, I'm thinking, okay, can we save that for the future, or is it just gone forever? So.
Thank you, guys. There's something we're gonna get to more about the line items, you guys, and why even if we don't spend it, we might not want to get rid of it. And you'll kind of see that. I'm gonna make my point in a couple more slides.
I hate to do this to you guys. I have one more question on IT consulting services. What are we anticipating spending that $42,000 on?
The cost is, that's the monthly maintenance contract for the, I'm sorry, it's an annual price for your monthly maintenance for IT, for the entire village.
Okay, okay. And that's just gone up because everything's gone up? Okay,
And
cool.
we're also gone, you know, digital in all of the departments, in
Oh.
most departments. Remember, we are still scanning building department, but we hope to get everything online as opposed to paper. So that also increases our IT usage.
Well, that's exciting. Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Anybody else from Administration and Finance? All right. Moving on, planning and zoning. Any questions here?
I just have one question. We had discussed in a previous meeting about an alternative, smaller format planning consultant to kind of pick up some of the small pieces while Puserbia focused on the larger pieces. And so I was curious to know if there's anything reflected in this budget that would allow us to, if we find a candidate that would work for us in the next fiscal year, is there anything in this budget that would allow us to pick up another consultant, basically?
Well, the desire was actually to have the Corradino group do those smaller planning, not to hire more planners.
Thank you.
Any other questions or
But
comments?
if I remember, the question also was to create like some sort of like, and have a a comparison to see whether it was worth it for us or not, because it's actually $20,000 more. $20,000 more having two consultants, planning consultants as
Yes.
opposed to one.
When we brought them on, I did say I wanted to see that, and I know Councilperson Martin asked for it as
Yes.
well. So I'll be providing that to you in this month, later this month, with that comparison of what those costs have been. You know, it's been a slower summer, but we still have projects, so there are things happening, and I'll be preparing that and giving that to you.
Yeah, because the problem I see now, it's, I see an increase of $21,000, and most of the revenue that the planning and zoning generates is actually through the building department, and we're not getting none of that money, because it goes straight to the contractor, right?
One of the things that we were able to identify in the audits is something as it actually relates to the planning and zoning fees. So again, what are the things that we're planning to do for the upcoming year? I've actually started this analysis review of all of the fees for the building department to make sure that all the fees are being charged properly, they're going to the right department, because as of right now, planning and zoning fees are not. So
Yeah, right.
again, so if you look at the revenue line also, we actually added a line item for planning and zoning fees.
Yeah.
Again, with the anticipation of putting the systems in place so that we can start recording that properly and account for it properly.
I see, thank you.
Anybody else playing zoning? All right, let's move to village clerk, you guys. This is pretty straightforward. You see only a $4,000 increase from the requested. There's also, as the clerk said earlier, in the September meeting, we're going to have her contract. I'm going to prepare you all. There's a lot with her past paychecks and her contract and a lot of stuff that's been incorrect. Been going through a lot lately and breaking down a lot of stuff. Since she's been hired, our payroll shows that she didn't accrue the sick days that she was supposed to accrue. First of all, she had been hired in 2015, but we were only showing from like the middle of 2016 forward. She was underpaid since she had been hired. There's a lot of problems with our previous, not Mr. Perez, who's there now, who works back there in human resources and does the payroll, which is part of the things that Mr. Tuberfield was talking about that he's changed, which I believe that is one of the things, and so we don't have these mistakes in the future why he deserves what he deserves. But there's been years, and you guys will see all the proof and everything, there's been years where the clerk has been not only underpaid, has accrued 0 sick days, where in her contract she's owed sick days per year, annual amount of sick days per year. So there's a lot wrong with her contract, and the first step is trying to just bring it before you all to kind of show you all what's been going on this upcoming September.
Needless to say, I've been here 8 years and I've only gotten a raise once, and it was $3. That's on me. That's not on anybody else. I asked for it at some point. And also there's a misconception with part-time. I can do sometimes more than 30 hours a week. I have the same demands as a full-time. I'm the only one who's part-time. It happened to be that way because I do have 3 kids and I wanted a flexible schedule. But I still do full-time. I have the same demands as any other city. I also have to do in compliance, follow with the law, do some education, and go far beyond. I don't only do the clerk's job. If I can, I help out any other department that comes to ask me. I'm always willing. But when I started looking at my salary, I didn't even know this. This was brought to my attention because I never questioned the checks, ever. That falls on me. I should be looking at them. Sometimes I'm afraid to look at them, but anyway, that's on me too. But I think that I'm way overdue for a raise. Not only for a raise, to actually look at my job, like I said before. No other municipality wants to put me down because of what I make across, since we're comparing, and it shouldn't even be compared to Biscayne Park because Biscayne Park answers to a manager. When you answer to the body, which is 5 different people, it's a higher salary. She just quit and she was making 73, and she quit because she was making 73. She was only there a year. She wanted an increase. What happens there is there, I'm here. So I am addressing you guys. Like I said before, there was a lot of things that I did see in my contract that I did speak to the attorney about, and there's a lot of things in my contract that are not right. They're not correct. And there's a lot of things that have been done. So when you do see it in September, I am open to sit with each one of you and discuss it and discuss what was brought to my attention, much to my surprise. I didn't realize that from before the previous administration. I saw in my check one time a PTO and also sick. Then when the problem started arising, I had no sick days. And when the payout, I had no sick days. Everybody here has sick days. It doesn't matter whether, if you look at the Florida law, it says 30 and over, you're considered full-time. So at this point, I'm like, wait, there's a lot. It's on me because I was so eager to do the job and to try to do as much as I can that I never stopped to think about me. So moving forward, I'm actually gonna sit down and analyze all the stuff, speak to the attorney with regards to my contract, so I can present it to you guys hopefully by September. This has been a long time coming, it's just, it's too much.
been
And I
working
always
on it.
think, oh, you know what, they don't have it in the budget, I'll wait till next year. They don't have it in the budget next year. Then I start looking at all these increases, and I'm like, wait a second, what am I waiting for? So, coming September, I will be presenting that. Thank you.
And even now, you know, she kept saying, but Mayor, like, you know, like, it's okay. And I was like, well, let's take a deeper look. And when we started to sit down and look paycheck by paycheck by paycheck, we were like, what the heck is going on here? And we really started to like look deep into it, and we were like, the last individual who's not here with us anymore, we were like, what was he doing? It's just a lot of,
I don't disagree with
it's been
it,
a lot of
Mayor.
cleaning up.
Mayor, I don't disagree with it. This has been a long time coming. Village clerk and I have talked, and I've been the one trying to calm her down before she cuts my throat or something like that. But this is long overdue. For what we get from the clerk, it's phenomenal. It's just absolutely phenomenal. The night that she broke up the silliness that was going on, she didn't have to say a word, but she did. She jumped in and said, that is not part of what's going on. You're beyond where you're supposed to be. She went to school and learned her position admirably. I have to say that. She learned it admirably. But when I realized how much she was being paid, I was undone. I was on the floor, because it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And we already know that Village Jacoby has been an outstanding village clerk from day one. Even when we didn't have her, she still was clocking in with, oh, that file is over there, or that file is, and we didn't even have her. So, yeah, this is long overdue. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and just, you know, it's just, and again, like I said in the beginning, like, I want to thank all of y'all, because, you know, our administration, unfortunately, is like the cleanup administration. You know, if we would have been, when we got elected, if we would have came in and, you know, all the stuff that was going on wasn't going on, and we could have hit the ground from like ground zero instead of ground negative 100, we would be so far beyond right now. But we still accomplished a lot of things, you all. You know what I mean? But that's what we are. We are, and whoever, you know, I won't be here forever. I don't know if you're going to be the next mayor, or I don't know who's going to be the next mayor, but whoever's the next mayor, I'm making sure that I'm allowing you all to hit the ground running. But this administration that we're in, you all, since we've been elected, we're the cleanup administration. We started negative, and we have to clean everything up that was messed up. Right? And I talk about that all the time, Clerk Jacoby. I always say, by the time we leave, I always say this, by the time we leave, we're going to leave with everything in place and fixed. I always say that.
Not going back, but he just reminded me when I started, because he was talking about when he started. That office, that's the office they gave me. It was just boxes with roaches. I almost passed out. So I had to bring a lot of stuff up to speed, and I've done a lot of stuff. But you know what? That's my job. I enjoy doing my job, and that's part of my job. So I'm just looking out now, moving forward. Okay, I've come to here. Now let's just move forward and where we're at. And I've brought a lot of different things, like these meetings being recorded the way that they are so everybody can see them. I brought that up because I was like, I think that as transparent as you can be is the best. That's the best practice. Best practice is to be as transparent as you can be. So when they come question you, you can just show them the video and say, this is exactly what it is. This is where we're at. So yeah. Well, thank you all anyway. Thank you,
Thank you.
Life from Ward, and all of you.
So I have two comments after all of this, if I may. So one is, in light of the anticipated discussion regarding making the contract correct, are these numbers still accurate on this sheet, anticipating any of that? And then I guess my other question is, it sounds like this is another side project that has been landed in the CFO's lap, is that right?
I know that there was a project in the works. I personally have not seen the final compilation yet. I know that David has been working with the village clerk and trying to compile it.
Okay.
I'm letting him do it, and once it's completed, I will review it for its accuracy.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, is it my understanding that every year we have a $10,000 placeholder for the municipal elections? Is that right?
Yes,
Yes.
that's necessary.
Okay.
We are having elections next year, though.
But in the
2020,
in
yeah,
the 2023
2024.
fiscal year?
Yeah, we're having elections next year.
November 2024.
Right, but
We also
November-
always have it every year just because that one election, which you were a part of, that was
Yeah.
the first election,
Right.
here when that never
Special
happened
election.
before. You guys have never had a special election. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, so what do I do now?
Now
So
we
I
got
had to
two.
educate. So that, and we didn't have the money allocated for it. So
Yeah.
we decided that moving forward, it was the best practice to actually have that in place just in case it happens.
Yep.
Not that it's gonna happen again, but we prepare for what the future holds. That's
Perfect.
something standard. One thing I did not see here, and I think I spoke to the CFO about, was the Munich code had been removed. We're putting that into, which is the codification. I'm actually negotiating with them. We're the only municipality they left the price for this year. Because I was speaking to them that I wasn't very happy about, some of the stuff, and we had conversations, and I was able to keep the price. This is the only municipality that's gonna keep the price for this year. All the rest, but looking for next year, it's gonna go up. Everything's gone up, cost of living, it's gone up, everything.
Even Muni code, wow.
Yeah. All right, any other questions for the village clerk? No?
No.
All right.
And I guess, I don't know if that was gonna be your question, Councilperson Urban, about the $10,000. If it's allocated and it's not used, it's.
It goes back.
essentially-
This year it goes back. It goes back into, that's one of the, actually, last year it went back too, so it's 2 years in a row that it went back.
If I may, I guess try to conceptually look at any unused monies.
Right.
In theory, going to the reserve, right? And any item, because remember, this is a budget. The budget is a forecast, right? Lack of better word, swag, right? Trying to best guess where we think where the municipality is going. So whenever you're looking at a line item and you see where it's less, conceptually, right? It's a credit, we're increasing our reserve balance. On the flip side, right, when you see a line item where we probably spent more than what we forecasted, it's a negative towards the reserve. So just something to think about when you see the pluses and minuses.
I haven't really spoken, I haven't really spoken to the elections department. It may have gone up too. I have no idea, since we haven't had one. I know there's a lot of laws that are coming into place, and there's a lot of things that are there's a cost attached to them. That might be something that might be higher. But I'm obviously gonna work within my own budget. That's what it is.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else for a village clerk? No? All right, public affairs. So when you look at this, everybody says, oh my God, 38,000? What is that all about? Well, don't be scared. That was the informational exposition that was all offset by the sponsorships. Okay? That was
It
all
was
offset by the sponsorships. Yeah, so luckily we put in place the $20,000, $15,000, $10,000, $5,000, $3,000, $2,000 sponsorships. And so the sponsorship, especially that came from the Barrington brothers who are building the Cavista, they sponsored at the highest level, and then CAP sponsored at the second highest level. And that kind of started to offset that, and then we had our lobbyists also sponsor at the fourth highest level. And so we covered everything with sponsorships. The problem is what I was talking about earlier, Councilperson Urban, about we have to be careful about if we don't use it, we take it away, because we won't have line items for it. And so the reason why that looks how it looks is because I don't have a line item for the informational exposition. And I don't have a line item in revenue for sponsorships. So we were like, where do we even put this stuff? So we just have to throw it because we don't have line items for it. The informational exposition, since last time it was done with sponsorships, it's not budgeted by us. So, we're still talking about how we're going to figure out how to put a line, because if we would put a line item for informational exposition, it would be zero budgeted, so then every year it would show whatever we went over, but then we'll always be offset with the sponsorships on the other side. So I'm trying to figure out how we're going to go about doing that line item, just so it doesn't look like this every time. But even if that didn't say promotional activities, even if it said informational acquisition, it would still be the same type of thing.
Mayor,
So, yeah.
we got got the man here right now. What's that usually called? I know what he's talking about, but I can't remember the line item that it was called. When we get, I worked in enough cities that we got donations from corporate people, from things that they did, and we put it inside of the budget so that, just like it is right now, so that when it did come up, they could see that these were all donations. They were all charity kind of things. It's like there is something, but it's certainly not public affairs. It's something that's
The revenue would be sitting in it wouldn't show up in public affairs. The revenue would show up in the general fund
there,
revenue.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's showing
Part of the
up
gen,
in
it's
the
part, I'm sorry, it's part of the general fund
Fund,
revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that, like, yeah, just like kind of what I explained earlier. That's the issue. But I'll figure it out, and I'll figure out how to do it. You know, it's interesting because when we first put it in, I was talking about the sponsorships that came in, and another reason why CFO Tuberfield, you know, deserves to get paid what he's requested is because he was educating me, because I was like, well, why don't we just put the sponsorships in and just have it offset this? But he was like, you can't. He was like, if you don't have a line item for something, you can't just offset the sponsorships for what the what came in through the through the exposition. He was like, because you don't have a line item for him, he's like, you can't just offset it like that. So it has to go in there like that. Because I was like, why don't we just offset it? But he was like, it doesn't work like that. In order for the budget to show like what really happened. So that's what that is, you all. So
We're okay, we're not
Yeah.
going to jail for this, right?
yeah, no. So that's exactly what that is. The office supplies and copies, the 3,000. The reason why that's there and we didn't have a year to date is because we're going to start. We're going to start like kind of following how much paper is being used. Because at this time we don't follow how much paper is being used. We were kind of like saying like, well, how many reams of paper are we using? Like when I do the flyer things and stuff like that, and we were like, man, we're not sure. Even though a ream of paper is not too much, but we were like, just put it at 3,000 and next year. So 3,000 is like a test place. Or it might be 2. You guys might be 1,500. It's not going to be over 3,000. So we like went to the extent we said, let's say 3,000, and then next year we'll kind of see how many reams of paper we actually go through, and then so next year we'll have an accurate budget about that. So that's where that 3,000 comes in. All right. Anything else? Police? We good? We good?
Oh, my favorite
Police department, you guys. Public safety. You guys, I'll give you a chance to take some time, look over it, see if there's anything that stands out to you.
Was the retirement contribution.
That
big.
number is dictated by the state. That's the FRS. Every July 1, the
Wow.
state comes out with a new rate. This year's rate went up almost 3%.
Huge for us. That's more.
It's huge for everybody. Understand also, though, that not all of that goes to the employee. A small percentage
Right.
of what gets funded into the fund actually makes it to the employee. Majority of what we're paying is really to fund the pension plan, not necessarily the individual employee.
Yeah.
Right.
And now what, it also skyrocketed this line item over here for the executive salary is that we added that other position for the mayor.
I'll let you answer.
I'll answer. No, we,
Ma-
the major, we separated, the major.
Major.
No,
Major.
In
major.
Espanol, it's mayor.
I don't
Is it major, is it mayor?
I don't get paid like that, you guys.
Major. Police.
Please don't put
Major.
that out there.
No, let's please.
Major.
No, we separated out the major from the regular salaries because he's not a part of the collective bargaining.
Right.
And so we put executive, so that's chief and the supervisor.
And the
That's not a
supervisor.
part of the union, so that's where that is what it is.
Right.
Looking at the, I'm sorry, looking at the numbers, I realize also, in the year-to-date, I did not reclass the major salaries to executives, so I'll fix that for next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are the numbers gonna change?
No, the requested budget's not gonna change. The year-to-date, July 31st numbers, individual line item for executive salaries will change, but the total number on the bottom of 1,142,000 will not change.
Very good.
And now, for the vehicle maintenance, it went up from 15 to 30, but aren't we have new fleet of police cars? Is that maintenance for?
I think, Madam Manager, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we under budgeted. The 15 was because this is the first year where we like kind of we're having the cars for a year, so we didn't know what the maintenance was going to be, and so we just said we're getting new cars. We said we'll put the maintenance last year at 15,000, but right now if you look at the year to date, it's at 28,000. So we're saying it's probably going to be about 30,000 next year. This because. So basically, look at this. The 15,000 we put was like the 3,000 we just put for the copies.
But what does that entail?
It entails the maintenance program that we have with the enterprise, which is our fleet manager. And it also includes, and this goes back to a scenario similar to what the mayor was saying as far as what I was explaining to him about the expenses and the revenue. Included in this line item here are repairs to some vehicles that were damaged, right? We did get recoup funds from the insurance company, but the revenue has to stay with the revenue, the expense stays with the expense. So you're looking at a high number for repairs and maintenance of vehicles because of the repairs done to the cars. But what you're not seeing is the revenue that came from the insurance company, which is sitting in the general ledger, in the general fund revenue, page number.
Yeah, things like that look like a loss, but it's not because in the general fund we're getting it back, like the sponsorship thing. It's just you can't, like he said, and he taught me that during this budget this time. So I was like, why don't you just offset this stuff so we see the actual amount, and we're allowed to see it easier, but you can't do it like that. So.
All right.
So I just have the same question regarding the repair and maintenance line items, maintenance vehicles, repair and maintenance vehicles. Just curious if there would be any opportunity for building those specific coffers, rainy day fund, et cetera. That's my only comment.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else?
Are we on a schedule for maintenance? Are the vehicles automatically on a schedule for maintenance?
Yes. Part of the agreement with Enterprise is, one of the reasons why we're paying a monthly fee to Enterprise is to be part of this maintenance program.
Repair and maintenance, very good. That was the right answer.
Thank you very much, Councilor Slay. Yep, absolutely.
My apologies. I have a question on that last line item for machinery and equipment. The year-to-date amount is about like 47,000. What was that we spent that on?
That was to build the shed for the police department.
Okay, thank you
So-
so much.
You're welcome.
That makes sense.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
Didn't those funds came from our?
ARPA, so we did have ARPA funds. ARPA funds were allocated and utilized for other purchases for the police department, but not specifically for the shed.
Madam Mayor,
But I think it was presented as it was being, no?
In resolution.
Madam Manager,
Yes.
since you gave me the heads up, commend the force for not utilizing too much sick leave. That says that says volumes to me. They stay healthy. I'm seeing a zero. I'm seeing only 4,266 for sick pay.
Yes.
That speaks volumes to me. They want to be here. They are here, and that, please give them our regards.
I appreciate that, and I can attest to, just the department having a very good work culture, and I think that also lends to people wanting to be at work and doing the job. I want to speak about the shed, though. I just want to say that, we did present a list of things that we were going to fund with the ARPA funds, but once those things started being, we started expending this, some things we're out of our abilities to pay from ARPA. Like, as we start paying it off, the funds ran lower and lower, so the shed we had to pay for.
Okay.
Anybody else for police?
Nope.
Moving on to code enforcement. I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes to look over it, and then you have any questions, just jump on in.
Yeah, just two comments. One, same comment for repair and maintenance budget and code enforcement. And then, education and training, just for everyone's benefit. I'm making assumptions here of why it looks the way it does, but is that the way, am I right? That, with code enforcement, that we've done a fair amount of training in this year, and then we won't require the same amount of training in the next year, so we dropped it to 5,000.
Got his
Perfect.
phase 2, or phase 3.
Perfect.
Training done, so that won't be needed.
Yep, and I'm 100% in favor of any and all training, so that's awesome. Okay, thank you.
Is money well spent.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments for code department before we move on? Moving on, you guys, Public Works, give you guys a few minutes to look over it.
Mayor,
Yes.
have we probably have, I just don't remember. Have we seen the code enforcement officer?
Yes, yes, yes.
What they look like?
Officer Simmons, African American black gentleman, really, really cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
you've seen him.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
Fitz,
code
Fitz,
enforcement.
Officer
Fitz,
Fitz,
that's all
yeah.
you had to say, Fitz. Come
Yeah.
on, manager, you know I got a
I
memory
said
thing.
Officer Simmons. I'm trying to be, professional
You know
here.
I got a
Officer-
memory thing
Off-
going on.
Officer
Yeah, he
Simmons,
talks
Officer
to me all the
Simmons,
time.
Fitz.
Yeah. See, I told you it was real. When y'all get to where I am, I told you there's a memory loss. You get me where I am.
It's all
I know
good.
exactly who he is, yeah.
Yeah, we love you, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Public Works, you guys, I'll give you guys a few minutes to look over, and then if you have any questions, just jump on in. Questions?
Yes, as far as the increase in contractual services, specifically lawn maintenance, who dictates that increase?
I can answer.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The number for 23 was understated. And in review of the contract, the upcoming contract for 24, the actual number that you see there is what the actual expense is going to be.
Okay, so then is the year-to-date misstated then at, should that be something like 27,000 instead of 2,700?
I'll look into that, sir. It's definitely misstated. No, but I'll get back to you on that.
Oh, they wouldn't like that at all.
Any other questions or comments about Public Works before we move on?
No, for the contracted salaries, is that
That's cap.
cap, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments before we move on?
It should be
just-
just for the, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to get full disclosure on cap. The cap contract is broken up into two parts.
Right.
So-
Yes,
so-
yeah,
okay.
no, I
Okay, I just want to make sure you
understand.
saw that. Okay.
What I was gonna suggest is to probably put just like the way you did it on the police department and do the code enforcement engineer and worker.
Okay.
So
Sure.
they know it's two salaries
Oh, right.
on that, yeah.
All right, and I do have one question about recycling. That, is that line item, that is our fee to Gulf Coast?
Coastal, the county.
The-
Miami-Dade County.
Right.
That's the fee that we pay Miami-Dade County $50,000 to do recycling, is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
They are the
I've
ones
just,
who have the contract with
yeah.
Coastal.
I'm gonna make a public comment here real quick about recycling, and it's just a comment, understanding that I'm probably gonna be an immediate outlier on this issue. I have been a informed conservationist my entire life, and I no longer see any value whatsoever in recycling. It is a lost cause. It is a failed endeavor. The answer is to change the way we package absolutely everything. And I am inclined to be very adamant that we no longer have recycling services or pay for recycling services. Again, understanding that I'll be an outlier in that, and I'm not announcing that we should do this for this next budget, but I would like to make a public comment to that effect, that we are fools for paying for your recycling at this point in time, if you understand anything at all about what is actually recycled and where our recycling goes, which is, of course, the dump. Or to third world countries that are just continually grateful for all the blessings the First World Nations shed on them.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Councilperson Lightfoot.
if I might piggyback on him, it's gotten so bad that the recycling truck doesn't know the difference between the days of the week, and this past week, they dumped both my garbage and my recycling bin in the same truck. Not just mine, the whole area where I live at. They literally did that. I'm glad he brought that up, because that was very disturbing to me, and I'm wondering, what in the world are we paying for if they're gonna put the garbage in the garbage? This time, I saw it happening on my street. So, before we go walking through that door without really, knowing what's going on, I think the county needs to be informed, because this is a county-structured, program, and this is not right. Since I eyeballed it, I saw it happen. So I don't know how many streets they went on like that, but I know when that truck stopped, it picked up both garbage cans at the same time. Doesn't make sense. That's why some people gotta stay home sometime, but since I'm retired, I saw that myself.
Yeah.
Huizinga lives. The specter of garbage racketeering lives on.
Thank you very much, everybody. Any questions or comments about Public Works before we move on? Okay. Moving on to the next page, we have here building permits, and we also have building departments and expenses. Give you guys some time to look over it. You have any questions, comments?
Just a quick question, and that is, we're at 307 year-to-date, but we're only projecting 233 for next year.
There's really no way to dictate and tell, right? And the way the budget for the building department is built and the way that it's currently structured, right? Whatever revenue we put in, right, in theory is going back out, with the exception of some of these additional expenses, right? So, yes, in theory, I
Gotcha.
guess we can make the number whatever.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make it look somewhat realistic.
Perfect.
I hate to overpromise and
Sure.
underdeliver, so, but
Very good.
at your will.
Any other questions or comments before we move on? Hearing, seeing none. Transportation. Yes, go ahead, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Mayor, I would like to speak at the village manager. Village manager, do we ever get to see the building person? The building person was very nice to me, but somebody spoke in regard to him before, to him, her, before. And they made me feel like I was a nut. I probably am, but I'm not. Were not trying to explain to me. They were not. All I wanted was my garage, my driveway repaved and extended. They were not nice to me. So I kept going. And someone called me and said, Dr. Ward, you can do a variance. Just as nice, you can do a variance. But remember, the law came. The law came 5 years ago, and you all voted for it. And it was not to extend or whatever your driveway to the street. I can do anything I want up there by the house, but I cannot do what I want on the curve of the street. I can't. So that person was very nice. The other person was just as rude. I don't know who it was. They didn't give me their name, but they stalled matter of fact, Madam Clerk, I want to take the papers home tonight. They stalled. I asked for it in February. It was July before I got an answer. And I'm glad this came up, because I wouldn't have thought about it after that. I just can't hold that in my head anymore. But it wasn't good customer service at all.
And what you're describing isn't, but I know that we have talked about this, you and I, and I've talked about it with our building official. I don't believe it's the building official who you're talking about, but I'm not sure. We are doing some trainings with staff for customer service and for the 119 public records requests and just attitudes on the job, that kind of thing. We will be doing those kinds of trainings
Very
over
good.
the next week.
That's
So I'm
sufficient.
hopeful that you won't have that experience again.
That's sufficient
And
enough.
if you do, then we'll deal with that appropriately.
Yeah, because everybody else in the office is very nice, very, everybody knows. Have you ever walked in there and they didn't know who you were? You have? I walk in there and they, hey, Dr. Ward, how you doing? You know, that type of thing. So whoever it was, I can't see it being the staff. It may be in a contract. I don't know what it was. I don't know who it was. I know it was nice. But I didn't walk around with my title on my shoulder. I just act like a regular resident. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council President Lightfoot. Anybody else for this page before we move on to transportation? Okay. Moving on to the transportation fund, you guys. Take some time to go. Jump in when you feel.
Looks like it's holding its own course. That about right? Looks like it's holding its own course.
Yeah.
Could we just be reminded what the rules are for spending these funds in the different categories? So for, so as far as the gas tax, what are the restrictions on that revenue?
Well, you want to say it? Okay. There are restrictions, yes, to what they can be used for. There is one pot that may be utilized for transportation costs. That would be roads repair. Now, again, we don't get a lot. You know, we're the smallest municipality, so we're getting the smallest, contribution. But there are certain things we can use, we can do. So transportation is one, and that entails road repairs, sidewalk, those kinds of things. So that is what we utilize when we do the pothole repairs or anything that we're working on that's related to the roads. Also, the tree, our tree canopy trimming also can fall under that. The right-of-way, it's maintenance of the right-of-way, those things. So we can do those. Those are allowed expenses. And then there's another portion of the money that's can only be utilized for transit, and that's bus or the electric shuttle or something that's mobile. And so we don't have a lot of options here since we're so small, but we did fund, that's how we paid for the electric shuttle,
Okay.
That's right.
which we are revisiting and may not be continuing. But we'll have other opportunities to spend these funds, and we're trying to fund our speed reduction program with these funds.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Council President.
may I ditto what the manager just said? I used to serve on that board, Citizens Independent Transportation Trust. That was the way we funded that vehicle, right?
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. But you broke it down very well about why we even want to be a part of Miami-Dade's transportation services, because a lot goes into it. And my serving 15 years, I think that plaque says 15 years, was phenomenal. And this part of it, I made sure they didn't minimize our village, because we were the smallest ones anyway. But thank you so much. I appreciate you. When I saw the bus, I knew it was time. That's how I'm back here, because you can't do both of them at the same time. Yeah. They didn't want me to go.
You'll see other projects in this new fiscal year now.
Okay.
Understanding that, we did this mobility study and the traffic study, so now we've got to buy signs.
Okay.
And that costs money, and we have to do the whole assessment of the existing signs, and that costs money, so.
When we get ready to do that and we go before the board, let me know. I'd like to speak to the board on that. And, because it's a new crew, but they'll never forget me.
Okay, we're going on October 10th at 2 p.m. I'll give you all of the information. We just got the invitation today
Excellent.
to present our mobility study before
Excellent.
the CITT.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Or TPO, I'm sorry. TPO is who we're presenting it for.
All right, you guys.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Anything else before we move on to the next page? All right, let's move on. Give you guys a second. If there's any questions, comments, jump right in.
We're on stormwater, is that right?
The stormwater, right?
Yeah. The only question I have is to know if once we begin the septic to sewer in earnest and sewer comes online, for whoever that is first, Second Avenue, for example, right? Will we see any of those stormwater revenues from sewer payments in the future? Is that, you know what I'm saying? They all go, will 100% of that payment go to the utility?
It'll go to Miami-Dade County,
Okay.
all of that.
I'm just
We cannot-
curious.
we-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, our stormwater projects would be separate.
okay.
All right, anybody, did we guys, there was also the CITT, did we do that one?
Yeah, yeah, we did
You
that.
did
That's
kind
what
of
I
both
just
together there.
Since I broke it down.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
The freebie, I don't see, we're stopping that service?
It's sitting in other contingencies, that $102,000 line item. Freebies runs about $9,500 a month.
So we're discontinuing the service, right? Freebies, yeah, it's gone. It's gonna be gone for next year.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I didn't think the route and the size of the vehicle was, was,
And the size of the village, we just didn't have the
That's right.
ridership, and we've spent enough on it. I think we can move on. We have something else that's a little more of a priority for us, and I think that's the speed limit reduction, that we can use those funds for.
okay, perfect.
And what's that from? What's that from?
CITT,
Use it for what?
speed limit reduction?
Yeah, yes, that's what you said, yes, yes. I told you, I'm doing a memory thing right now. I'm not even embarrassed.
All right, so, anything else for stormwater, you guys? We're gonna go to Parks and Recreation Fund.
Yeah, well, and on the parks and revenue, we just spoke about the numbers here, that it should be, it's not, it reflects 366, it should be a little more than that, right?
That's the last payment that is owed. They paid us 2 payments, and that's the 3rd payment of the, I believe, that's owed to us.
Development
Yeah, but
agreement.
was something left over from whatever the council decided to move to another,
Okay, so so that's separate and apart. I'm looking at it separately. So there's funds that the the village has received already,
Okay?
and the village has a bank account, separate bank account for those funds. There's currently, I believe it's $475,000 still remaining in that account. That's separate and apart from what you see here. What you see here is what we're projecting for next year.
for next year.
Right, so
Okay.
we're anticipating their final payment to come in fiscal '24. And it's my understanding, I believe that those funds are currently restricted, correct?
Yeah.
And,
So that'll be a total of 700 and change.
There'd be roughly about 800,000, a little over 800,000
Okay.
in the account
Okay,
once we receive that payment, correct?
okay, perfect, thanks.
okay. And there's more things coming through that myself and the village manager are gonna be negotiating, you guys. So, there are more stuff coming through, so next year will look even better than this year. We have a lot of things that we're working on, so, a lot of stuff. All right, you guys, I would just say, leaving here, I'll, get you guys those, evaluations when we get a chance. Remember, the CFO has no evaluation, so you're talking about the, clerk, you're talking about the manager, you're talking about the attorney, which I got those also. The attorney had an interim contract, never had a permanent contract. We're gonna have to see how we address that in the meeting upcoming. We have the 2 agenda items on the next meeting. We will have the agenda item, attorney services RFQ, for discussion and possible, action. I was gonna say possible motion, possible action. We also have another agenda item, which was the CFO.
Said that wasn't gonna be
That
an
wasn't gonna be,
agenda
yeah,
item, that's
because
just
we
something the
don't, yeah,
manager.
the per charter is underneath the manager. Speak to the manager. I feel like the CFO should deserve all his money. But speak to the manager, you guys. Speak to the CFO. He can explain to you all the work that he's done. Like I said, he's done a lot of work, and really turned us around. That's pretty much where we leave that. All right? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, stop. Somebody should.
Oh, that's right, it's a good one.
I'm sorry, I have one thing to add, not related to the budget. It actually relates to the audit. I don't have the information in front of me, but forgive me. I believe that the auditors are still waiting for some questionnaires,
You guys are fraud
related party
questionnaires.
questionnaires and fraud questionnaires from some of the council. It's imperative that you guys get that in. That will hold up the final audit. So if you can, please get those to them as soon as possible.
Is it coming in the mail?
They would have, they emailed you directly. It's a third party, so it has to be, I cannot be party of it, neither can the manager,
Yes.
because in essence, what they're asking you is for any, if you see any fraud, right? They want you to see, they want to know that, and any related party questionnaire, meaning they can ask you questions if you know if there are any related parties that interacted with the town. So those are specific questions that you need to answer that need to go directly to the auditors. So if you did receive them and you
If they
ignored
did
them.
it in the email or they get it to
They
you?
sent it to you via email. I'll send them an email again tomorrow, following up, to let them know that I spoke to you, everybody as a whole. So if you do see a follow-up email tomorrow or the next day, please don't ignore it. Please, let's get them signed and sent over to the auditors. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much, CFO Tuberville. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. So, yeah, for everybody, so if you guys just go to your email, if you just type in, there's two, there's fraud questionnaire and related party questionnaire. So if you type those two in, fraud questionnaire, related party questionnaire, they'll probably pop right up. You just print it out and fill it out. Because I think you have to print it out, because I think I tried to do it through the PDF on it, but you have to print it out, fill it out, then scan it, and then email it back to them.
They
Okay.
think everybody got that too,
Yeah, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, I know, that's why I was going to come to you, because I know, you know, with your email and stuff like that, and you usually get like a lot of problems and stuff like that. So what I'll do is, I think I have it still here in my email, because it doesn't have my name typed on it. No. Is it? Is it? I'll see if I can find a way to get you, Councilperson
Yeah.
Lightfoot Ward, like, I'll do something to find a way to get you a copy, and I'll bring it over to you.
They're gonna send it to me. Once they send it to me, I'll call you so you can come over and I'll walk you through it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Whoever's missing, I mean.
All right, you guys. I'll find out who's missing. Next, good and welfare. Anybody want to come and talk about anything at all? Anything that's on your mind? First and last name, 3 minutes. The floor is yours. Hearing, seeing none. We're going to have to give you Citizen of the Year, man. You're the only one dedicated. You come to every meeting. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Yes, motion made by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second? Second by Councilperson Obama. Does anybody have any last questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor for motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none. The budget workshop for Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 is adjourned at 9:29 p.m. Good job, people.